Did any of you see that Netflix film called Don't Look Up? This fictional tale of an asteroid that's coming, and the astrophysicist warns society and no one believes them? Everything I know about social media, politics, how people interact with science, and all the deniers out there, everything I know about that tells me that movie was instead a documentary.
So we just leak it.
Well, it would be an analogy of modern day culture and our inability to hear and listen to scientific truth. I often in my career looked for a film that had an environmental undertone to it, but much like the inundation of news on climate change, a lot of people don't want to hear it, and making a film to it. But much like the inundation of news on climate change, a lot of people don't want to hear it, and making a film about it is an even more difficult task to take on. And Adam, who's incredibly outspoken individual on the climate crisis, really wanted to do a film that brought, an element of dark comedy to what seems to be a daunting issue.
Your breathing is stressing me out.
This will affect the entire planet.
I know, but it's like so stressful.
What Adam did that was so brilliant here was use the analogy of a giant comet heading towards Earth and how the human race would react to it from a political level, from a scientific level, and what we would do about it. It really reminded me of what it's like for climate scientists like, Michael Mann, for example, when they're put in the mainstream news circuit and told to talk about the catastrophic events of the climate crisis. Here they are trying to be media savvy and not politicize the issue, but just try to articulate the facts the best they can. There are some hard truths that these characters need to face, much like we do as a species on Earth.
We're trying to tell you this whole time, it's right there.
I just love the way that he ended this film because it makes us take a hard look at where we're ultimately going, and the fact that a lot of this stuff is slowly becoming irreversible, and that we have this very finite window of 10 years to make this transition. If we're not voting for leaders or supporting everything that has to do with climate mitigation, we're going to have a fate very similar to these characters.
Everything is fine.
We're already feeling the ramifications of the climate crisis, and the world is going to be a different place years to come. When COVID hit, it became all the more resonant that there's a tremendous amount of doubt in modern day science. And having been speaking about and listening to incredibly intelligent people talk about this issue for the past 20 years, the fact that our emissions are still going up worldwide and we're not making the changes necessary. We're seeing the ramifications of what scientists have been telling us for the last few decades, and it's almost happening to the exact year and date. I remember talking to climate scientists who started talking about the spread of wildfires around the world and that it would be happening around this time. And here we are looking at the state of the world that we're in. And
User John Will Chambers summed up the thoughts of many by asking, did I just watch Kamala Harris claim there has been peace in Europe for 70 years? Washington Examiner reporter Jerry Dunleavy pointed out on Twitter that those 70 years of peace and security included the Yugoslavian civil wars of the 1990s, as well as Russia's attacks on Georgia and the Ukraine. Don't forget Afghanistan in there. Oh, that's not Europe, sorry. I'll retract that. Also, Berlin Wall, they were in Afghanistan, Russia. That's what I was alluding to. Also, Berlin Wall came down 3 decades ago, so I'd quibble with 70 years, he added before emphasizing in a second tweet that it is not true. There have been no wars in Europe for 70 years, nor do I consider the Soviet occupation of Eastern Europe peace and security. Anyways, sending perpetually unprepared Kamala Harris over to attempt to quell a geopolitical crisis is such an outrageous move, which is valid.
I have not spent 5 minutes on that distraction. The story is the 100 million tons of coal to China and the 40 million tons of coal to India is a bigger story than the Ukraine story, but maybe 5 or 6 people on the planet understand this. And so I'm going to wrap this up and go enjoy my President's Day margarita, drinking a toast to Joe Biden. And thanks to Joe Biden, our president in 2024, Donald Trump. What did I read? That Joe Biden's poll numbers on President's Day are lower than, and you know, Donald Trump's poll numbers were on his presidency. You know what I'm saying? That Joe Biden is polling lower than Donald Trump was in his administration, and you try to wonder why we're doomed.
Not new news, but breaking new old news. Okay, did you guys get that? According to the CDC, vaccines do not prevent transmission. I think she said this, I mean, months ago, but they're saying it again. They don't prevent transmission, so why are you taking them? Why are you mandating them? Why are we even doing this? They just gave the Queen ivermectin, saying ivermectin totally works. Well, sure. CDC director, COVID vaccines can't prevent transmission anymore. I mean, this is from a whole month ago. But, I mean, this is also from months and months ago. I think she said something like this, I don't know, October, November? What they can't do anymore is prevent transmission, so if you're going home to somebody who has not been vaccinated, somebody who can't get vaccinated, I would suggest you wear a mask in a public indoor setting. Or have plenty of ivermectin on hand. That's added by me. Oh, look at this. Sorry, guys, I'm just jumping all over the place. But I see things in the sidebar. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. We're doing a short attention span Black Bear News today. But two-system storm hitting St. Louis may be the most active we've seen this winter. How about that extreme weather, guys? How about some more extreme weather events? How about another extreme weather event? Anybody for another extreme weather event? Storms that may bring lightning and thunder on Tuesday in St. Louis will kick off what may be the most active weather week on the winter season in St. Louis. It's a two-storm system. And we'll see how that goes. Kevin Chanholzer says a Marathon oil refinery exploded in Louisiana yesterday. Really? Not good. Yes, not good at all. 1 million acres burn in Argentina. Holy crikey. Just when you think you're missing all the news, you're missing all the news.
What are we going to do? We have to release the information.
It's not that we're not listening, we're just not taking the necessary action.
Are we not being clear? We're trying to tell you that the entire planet is about to be destroyed.
It's a very daring film to make. It's, in a lot of ways, brings a mirror to our entire culture and how we deal with bad news, and whether us as a species can evolve to truly focus on what is ultimately the most important issue that's ever faced humanity in the history of civilization.
Something you don't like the looks of?
We discovered a very large isn't happening. Kate, tell me this isn't really happening.
I hear there's
who's much more of a fiery activist. She's gonna tell the truth no matter what.
We're all 100% for sure gonna fucking die!
Is she always like that?
Professor Guy McPherson to discuss a recent article which I quickly share now on my screen. Here it is. It was published on swearweather.eu and it calls La Nina collapse has now begun in the Pacific Ocean, and it's published on two days ago, 12th of February. Its weather influence will extend into spring 2022 before finally breaking down towards summer. So we will base our conversation today on this event, La Nina, and further atmospheric events relevant to it and how they impact the biology habitat. We will talk about El Nino, La Nina, and also the term called ENSO. Dear Professor Guy McPherson, I learned the term ENSO just yesterday after reading the article. I'm sorry for my lack of education in this area. And I'm guessing that some of the viewers, maybe some of them know already, but some might also be foreign to this term. Would you like to explain us what is El Nino, La Nina, and ENSO, these terms?
Yes, ENSO is short for El Nino Southern Oscillation. El Nino, of course, refers to the boy. I'm not sure the connection between the boy and this atmospheric event. And La Nina refers to the girl. Again, I don't understand the connection. The La Nina is considered the cooling process in the oceans and the atmosphere. And so the El Nino Southern Oscillation is perhaps the best known of the well-studied interactions between the marine system and the atmosphere. Specifically, we've had 6 El Nino Southern Oscillation events since the year 2000, and it appears that we're going into another one.
Humanity, he just blew us off.
We had one major one that was in 2014 to 2016, so it lasted a couple of years, and it released an enormous amount of heat and carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. And this is what happens. We can think of the ocean, the world's ocean, as a battery, and it, of course, holds a lot of heat. Any kind of water holds a lot of heat and also holds a lot of carbon dioxide. And so during La Nina and neutral phases, the ocean is just absorbing heat and absorbing carbon dioxide. Of course, the ocean makes up more than 70% of the planet. So of course, that's what where you would expect the majority of the heat to be stored, and also carbon dioxide. During El Nino Southern Oscillation events, the reverse happens. That battery that the ocean has been using to store heat and carbon dioxide suddenly is released. Carbon dioxide and heat are released into the atmosphere during an El Nino Southern Oscillation, and particularly during ones like the 2014, 2016.
This is the worst news in the history.
Implications for how people, such as the airboat drivers, those kind of people, for how people, especially young people, think and feel about the climate emergency and how societies can respond to it. This revised science means that if humanity slashes emissions to 0, global temperatures will stop rising almost immediately. You damn doomer. Listen to the man. It's in the Washington Post. It's in the mainstream media. There you go. To be clear, this is not a get out of jail free card. Global temperatures also will not fall if emissions go to 0, so the planet's ice will keep melting and sea levels will keep rising, but global temperatures will stop their relentless climb, buying humanity time to devise ways to deal with such unavoidable impacts. In short, we are not irrevocably doomed, or at least we don't have to be if we take bold, rapid action. Yes. Thank you, Michael Mann, for clarifying that. So you better believe a huge part, probably the centerpiece of that hopium is carbon storage. And for anybody hoping to make money off of the collapse of a planet, carbon storage. Right here from the Independent. Forget electric vehicles. Carbon storage is now the hottest technology trend to invest in. Yes. Carbon storage and removal, the process of sucking it from the air, have become among the hottest technology trends in the climate investing game. Yes, and here's one called drone seed. Drone seed. Anyway, so they go through all of the, looking at all of these planet eaters investing in carbon storage. This is some venture capitalist quote. There is a ton of money coming in to this sector. Yes. Indeed, in the first 2 weeks of this year, both Wall Street and Silicon Valley popped the cork on billions of dollars of new investments in renewable energy, carbon storage, energy efficiency in buildings, and every other form of environmental, social, and governance ideas. Yes, Gene Rogers, one of the pioneers of sustainability accounting, who founded the Sustainable Accounting Standards Board, yes, just became global head of these environmental, social, and governance ESG ideas at Blackstone Group, which then promptly announced a $3 billion investment in the largest private player in the wind and solar markets. Goldman Sachs invested $25 million in a Toronto-based energy storage company. The Carlyle Group just announced more than $100 million in investment in energy storage and electric vehicle charging station companies, while Bill Gates' Breakthrough Energy Catalyst Group said it will invest $15 billion into energy storage and renewable projects. Okay, you go. Bill Gates, Blackstone, and the Carlyle Group. You can certainly say thank that group for saving the planet. But of course, going hand in hand with this, don't forget the Build Back Better plan to save the planet. And take a wild guess, one of the biggest winners, probably the biggest winner of them all, in Joe Biden's Build Back Better to save the planet, that would be asphalt. Asphalt. Pave the planet to save the planet. I love the slogan. Pave the planet to save the planet. We need more asphalt on this planet to save ourselves from climate change. From the New York Times, right here, you read it in the New York Times. One of the infrastructure plan's biggest winners is the pavement you drive on. Yes. Okay. The infrastructure package, the Build Back Better plan, allocates at least $350 billion over the next 5 years to highways and bridges. Yes. The highway and bridge budget will pay for engineers, steel, concrete, and other elements of the actual structures, but lobbyists from the asphalt industry and transportation experts expect an outsized portion of the pavement spending to go to asphalt, the material that paves 94% of America's roads and bridges. Yes. Asphalt advocates hoping to counter the idea that asphalt hurts the environment has framed the material as an unlikely ally in combating climate change. Yes, the asphalt industry lobbyists are hoping to counter the idea that asphalt hurts the environment, and in fact, paving the planet will save the planet. Yes.
That brings up a couple of questions that appeared in the chat, and maybe Kevin, you can take these on first. First, James Tiburon says that humans won't go extinct until the second half of this century, and I would like you to address that. And that's from James Tiburon. And then David Stoney says, will any of us be alive when the nuclear plants disintegrate? How fast will uncontrolled global warming by itself wipe us out? And Kevin, I know you have some personal feelings about abrupt climate change in light of the potential for radioactive releases. So can you start us off?
Well, when it comes to that person saying that we're not going to be extinguished until the second half of the century, I suggest he go to YouTube and look up the Albert Bartlett lecture on the exponential function. And anyone who's paying any attention to climate change at the moment can just see the acceleration. The amount of fires that we're building, that are burning at the moment all around the planet, is much more than at the same time last year, which was already our most recent record. So that's why I think that people, they think that we're being alarmist when we talk about how quickly this will fall over. But if you look and pay attention now, you can see that acceleration. And there's a thing that I think that we should all consider. If you've ever been on a surfboard, a skateboard, a motorbike, or a car going fast, and you get the speed wobbles, you have a really, really short window of opportunity to decelerate and get back control. Well, guess what, folks? Between the feedback loops that are kicking in and accelerating it, and us not taking our foot off the accelerator and putting it on the brake, this is a compounding feedback in itself. So I think that's, if I can convey anything, this is the rapidity that we're going to be looking at.
Driver. Both fry.